Story recapped here. Today I'm gonna explain a comedy and horror film called Satanic Panic. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. At Judy's home, her mother catches her being intimate with a guy. Despite her daughter's pleas, she gets angry and slams Judy on the wall before coming after the guy. Meanwhile, a new pizza delivery woman, Sam, shows a video of herself singing to her coworkers. However, they just start mocking Sam because of it. At that moment, their boss assigns them the delivery routes for the day. Unfortunately, Sam gets the short end of the stick because her boss assigns her to S-Town, or Scrooge Town, an infamous place where the people are known for not giving tips. Furthermore, Sam's boss takes her $5 for the thermal bag deposit, leaving her with no gas money. As if things couldn't get worse, one of Sam's co-workers, Duncan, even tries to make a move on her, saying that Sam owes him because he's the one that got her the delivery job. Before leaving, she chants "two fuzzy bunnies" repeatedly, something that de-stresses her. Once she's finally on the road, she realizes that S-Town lives true to its reputation. Of all the customers she delivered to, none of them gave her a single tip. One guy even forced Sam to help him move his couch, telling her that by the code of the Sams, she's required to help a fellow Sam when they need assistance. When she gets back to the pizza place, her coworker starts flirting with her again, even when she's uncomfortable. So when her boss tells them that they have a big order outside their zone, Sam jumps on the opportunity. Her other coworker asks where she's delivering, and Sam answers that she's going to Mill Basin. Turns out, her coworker has delivered there before and saw that the people there were getting freaky with each other. Even then, he ended up making $32 for a tip. So Sam feels expectant that she'll get something out of this delivery. She arrives at the huge mansion, where she comes across Gary, who's quite the strange man and doesn't even say a word. Despite the large order, Gary still stiffs her, making her end up leaving without a tip once more. But no, Sam has had enough of the pattern of being mistreated and underpaid, so she braves herself to bang on their door, demanding the tip she deserves. When she gets no answer, she just sneaks in through an unlocked door at the back. When she sees the gathering that's happening, she approaches one of the attendees, Kim, to ask for Gary. However, she doesn't listen to the speech being done by the host, Danica. Sam doesn't realize that she walked in on a group of Satan worshippers. Kim tells her to leave, but Sam doesn't listen and interrupts the gathering to ask for a tip. Because of this, Danica and her sidekick Gypsy turn to her. Currently, they plan to summon Baphomet by using a virgin, but they lost their initial victim after realizing that she wasn't pure. So Gypsy asks whether Sam is a virgin. When she couldn't give a straight answer, they realize that Sam is definitely a virgin. Danica then orders the group to seize Sam before she blows sleeping dust on her face. When Sam wakes up, she finds herself locked in a living room with Samuel, Danica's husband. However, Samuel is in the same predicament as her, locked up as well because he angered Danica. Sam tries to plead with Samuel to let her go, still not knowing what's happening. When Samuel tries to explain the Satan situation, Sam just laughs, thinking he's lying. Then, she tries to escape by herself, but can't find a way out. When Samuel realizes that Sam is a new virgin sacrifice, he tells her that Baphomet will be born through Sam's virgin womb. But still, Sam doesn't believe him. While she tries to pick the lock, Samuel tries to make a move on her, saying that he's saving her life by taking her virginity. Samuel starts to lick her face and tries to grab her, but Sam runs away from him. Still, he manages to pin her down and rip her shirt off. Suddenly, Sam's phone starts ringing. She then uses the momentary distraction to hit Samuel in the face. As his bloody nose starts dripping on her, Sam pushes him off before running to answer her phone. When she sees that it's Duncan, she starts pleading for help, but Samuel points a gun at her, telling her to drop the phone. Sam pleads for mercy, but Samuel shoots without hesitation. However, no ammunition comes out. Thinking that the gun is broken, Samuel checks out the muzzle by looking at it directly. Because of this, he accidentally shoots himself in the neck. While the group gets ready for the ritual, they go to fetch Sam, but she's already gone. They come across Samuel instead. Despite her husband lying bloody on the floor, Danica didn't help him. Instead, she puts her arm through the bullet hole to grab one of his organs. Then, she orders one of her loyal cronies, Daniel, to put it in the oven. On the other hand, Sam is already running away across the street and begs for help at a nearby home. There, she meets Kristen, who's currently babysitting her younger siblings. Sam tells her to call the police, but Kristen is a bit scatterbrained and keeps forgetting to do so. Instead, she helps Sam clean up all the blood on her. After cleaning up, Sam throws away her pizza delivery shirt. Sam hears screaming coming from one of the rooms, but Kristen says that there's no one else in the house except for her and the kids. When Kristen leaves to call the police, she leaves Sam with a glass of soda. She hears the commotion coming from the room again as she's about to drink it, so she puts the glass down. Curious, she walks nearer but stops when she sees one of the kids take her soda. A few seconds later, Kristen returns, gives Sam a jacket, and tells her that the police are coming. Suddenly, they hear a kid scream, so they run back to the living room. When they get there, they see that one of the kids is passed out on the carpet. Kristen immediately blames Sam for giving soda to the child, but Sam notices the empty glass. Right away, she connects the dots, but Kristen tries to tell her that the child simply has diabetes. Suddenly, the other kid tases Sam, making her slap the little boy. Angered, Kristen picks up the taser and starts cornering Sam. At that moment, Kristen's sister Michelle comes out while wearing a strap-on drill and targets Sam. But Sam uses Kristen's jacket to jam the drill before pushing her away, making Michelle get stuck on the banister. While Michelle tries to pry herself off the banister, Kristen starts to strangle Sam against the wall. As Sam manages to push Kristen off her, Michelle also got herself out. Unfortunately, Michelle accidentally drills through her own sister as she stumbles back from Sam's push. Angered, Michelle still attempts to attack Sam even with Kristen pierced on her. However, Sam moves out of the way, making Michelle puncture through the wall and accidentally electrocutes herself to death because of the wirings. Suddenly, she hears someone screaming for help, so Sam goes inside the room. There, she finds Judy on the bed, undressed and constricted with ropes. Right away, Judy orders Sam to untie her, so she does. Immediately, Judy starts dressing up to escape and wants nothing to do with Sam since Sam has no idea what to do and what's happening. So Sam tries to call for help, but the 911 dial got rerouted to the Satanist group. Judy hangs up the phone for her, but it's already too late because Gypsy realizes where they are, which turns out to be Kim's house. Furthermore, Judy keeps telling Sam to stay away from her, but when she sees that Sam managed to kill the sisters accidentally, Judy welcomes her as a companion. They attempt to escape, but the cultists are already at the front door. Right away, Judy pulls her out to the back door. As they leave, Sam catches sight of a little girl staring at them from the balcony. Meanwhile, Kim and her husband Steve arrive and see that their daughters are dead, and they start grieving. They even blame Judy for the incident. Turns out, Judy's mother is Danica and that she ordered Steve to kill Judy. Instead of sympathizing with their loss, Danica reprimands Steve for letting Judy escape. Right there, Gypsy starts opposing Danica's leadership because their night isn't doing so well. Suddenly, Daniel finds Sam's shirt in the trash bin and hands it to Danica. They go back home to fetch Samuel's organ from the oven. It looks straight out of a hellhole and seemingly alive. They give Sam's shirt to the creature and orders it to find the virgin. On the other hand, the two women are still not quite getting along. Sam wants to drive away, but Judy knows that being on the streets will just be as dangerous, so she hides inside another house. There, she starts pouring salt on every possible entry to prevent summoned monsters from getting in. Judy explains that demons won't cross a salt border without counting every grain because they take rules seriously. However, Sam still doesn't believe anything that Judy says, thinking that the supernatural stuff is impossible. Unnerved, Sam just decides to split off from Judy, telling her that she's gonna get a shirt before leaving. As she looks around the pictures inside the home, she sees that she's in Gypsy and Gary's house, but she doesn't see that an unseen creature starts blowing off the salt border on the window. While Sam takes a seat to recuperate, a blanket starts attacking her. Right away, Judy comes to Sam's rescue and takes the blanket, wetting it under the sink before trapping it inside the fridge. Then, Judy explains to Sam that she almost got killed by a Hacksun cloak. When the group realizes their cloak plan failed, Gypsy starts coming for Danica's leadership again. Gypsy demands Judy's hair, planning to kill the girl because all of Danica's plans failed. Nobody takes Danica's side, not even Daniel. So Gypsy starts assuming the leadership role and orders Danica to get rid of Duncan because he was on the call with Sam earlier. So Danica calls Duncan over at their house. Meanwhile, Gypsy starts doing the ritual to kill Judy through voodoo. While Judy and Sam rest on the couch for a bit, they start talking and getting to know each other. But Sam notices that Judy starts bleeding from her eyes. Right away, Judy knows that she's getting cursed, so she tells Sam how to counter it. They go to the bathroom, where Judy starts undressing and orders Sam to seal her skin. Judy gives Sam a specific set of symbols to combat the curse, so they hurriedly start writing. But as things start getting worse, Sam's resolve starts growing thin. When she sees Judy puke a bunch of worms, she backs away. However, Judy tells her not to stop, even ordering Sam to tell her a story to distract themselves while writing. Then, Gypsy starts poking pins on the voodoo doll, which immediately appear on Judy as well. But soon enough, the pins fall off the doll as they succeed in sealing Judy's skin. However, Gypsy isn't giving up yet and tries to choke Judy with her own hair, but that also fails. After that, Sam and Judy emerge victoriously. On the other hand, Danica welcomes Duncan into her place and coaxes him to snort drugs. Then, Danica plucks an eyebrow from Duncan and lays a plastic cover on the carpet. Slowly, Duncan starts vomiting his intestines. From that, Danica learns where the girl's location is. Meanwhile, Judy finds a hidden gun from the pantry, hoping to use it to protect themselves. But Sam doesn't think a gun is enough to fight against the evil worshippers. Despite all odds against them, Judy has enough willpower to keep moving forward. When Gypsy comes back with the group to confront Danica, they seize her immediately. Gypsy starts blaming Danica for teaching Judy how to skin seal, making the group turn against her. Before Danica could tell them where Sam and Judy are, Kim already kills her with a spike through her skull. Then, Gypsy tries to decode Duncan's entrails to find the girl's location but fails. However, she doesn't need to do that because Judy calls her on her phone. She tells Gypsy that she wants to go back to the group and will sacrifice Sam to gain their trust. She reveals that they were in Gypsy's house all along. Excited, Gypsy eagerly orders everyone to storm their house to look for Sam. However, they don't realize that they failed to kill Danica, who somehow comes back to life, so she starts eating human organs to gain her strength back. On the other hand, Gypsy seems to have walked into a trap because they don't find the girls inside her house. Instead, one of their followers opens a closet and gets killed by the Haxan cloak. Meanwhile, Judy and Sam are actually running away through the woods. But of course, escape isn't so easy as Sam gets caught by a tree monster. Immediately, Judy starts shooting the creature to help Sam. Together, they run to the clearing, but Danica impedes their escape. Judy doesn't hesitate to point the gun at her own mother and tells Sam to run away on her own, but she doesn't want to abandon Judy. But before Judy could shoot, Danica pulls out Judy's bracelet, which starts making Judy choke. While Judy is incapacitated, Sam takes the gun from her to go against Danica, but she pulls the same trick on Sam, knocking her out by using a piece of Sam's discarded shirt. When the two girls wake up, they find themselves strapped on top of an altar, surrounded by the cultists. On the other hand, Danica reclaims her leadership and exacts vengeance upon Gypsy despite forgiving Daniel. With just her words, she curses Gypsy to drown despite not being above water. When she falls to her death, she accidentally disrupts the salt circle in the backyard. Meanwhile, Kim and Steve apologize to Danica, and Kim even goes down to kiss her cloak. But Danica isn't so forgiving. But at least she doesn't kill the couple. Judy starts pleading with her mother for forgiveness, but Danica has already made up her mind. Right away, they start the ritual to summon Baphomet as Sam's womb starts expanding. Meanwhile, the cultists start undressing and get freaky with each other. As she suffers, she lands her eyes on Gary and starts cussing him out, blaming him for everything because he didn't tip. With enough willpower, Sam breaks herself free and threatens to stab her womb if they don't let go of Judy. But Danica doesn't entertain her demands and slits Judy's throat instead. While Sam grieves for her friend, they apprehend her to prepare for Baphomet's birth. When they get her into labor, Sam chants her two fuzzy bunnies mantra to calm herself. Ironically enough, she gives birth to two fuzzy bunnies. Suddenly, she finds herself waking up in the empty yard without the Satanists, but the bunnies are still there. When she looks around, she finds Samizel, a powerful demon in the guise of a little girl, playing around. She shows Sam the disrupted salt circle, hence how Samizel managed to get in. Turns out, she's a demon that's superior to Baphomet and got angry at the cultists for worshipping Baphomet before her, all because demons follow strict rules in hierarchy. Furthermore, she tells Sam that she'll kill the cultists, including Sam, but she'll make sure not to make Sam suffer. However, Sam tells her the Code of Sams, a rule she shouldn't risk breaking either. With that, she convinces Samizel, who tells Sam to run while the demon starts to eat one of the bunnies. Suddenly, she sees herself back in the yard with the cultists. She sees Kim behead Danica with a sword, but Sam doesn't waste any time picking up the other bunny before running away. As everyone starts choking to death, Samizel simply laughs at the suffering of the cultists. Soon enough, Sam runs back to her Vespa, where Samizel waves her goodbye as she drives away. When she gets back to the pizza place, she immediately quits and takes her $5 back from her boss. Then, she drives away with the bunny, relishing her newfound freedom.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.